Hi everybody and welcome back to another Legends of Runeterra video. Today we have the last of the cards revealed for this newest expansion in Call of the Mountain, and these are mostly going to be from other regions that we haven't really seen yet. So we've got a couple of cards throughout the set of kind of these reveals where we get kind of tease cards from Demacia, like the dragon yesterday, and we had Poro Cannon from Piltover and Zon, and now we're kind of wrapping up the other regions here besides Targon and their cards. Basically what we're going to be left with until we get to the next expansion in this set in a couple of months here. So yeah, we're starting off with a Bilgewater card here. This is called Jack the Winner. Round start, create a fleeting Sleep with the Fishes in hand. Sleep with the Fishes is a new card. I haven't really looked at it. I don't really know what it does. Jack the Winner as kind of a, I guess, basic card here without looking at the ability is pretty good for a 5-cost card. He's got 5 attacks, 6 health. He's basically going to be able to take an attack from anything. He seems pretty strong as a unit. He's an epic card, so keep that in mind. But generally, this card seems pretty good as a blocker. We're going to see what Sleep with the Fishes does, though, before we make any final assumptions here, and this is kind of blurry. I wonder why. Alright, so 0 mana cards. So this is going to cost you nothing to play. It is a slow speed spell, so the enemy can interact with it. Sleep with the Fishes, I think, is this just the slow speed again? And then fleeting. So it's fleeting. This is deal 2 to an ally to deal 2 to the enemy Nexus. Alright, so this is actually more synergy with Noxus and self-harm kind of archetype that could work well with Swain or with Vlad. Yeah, there isn't a lot of synergy in, I guess, not synergy, but the self-harm kind of archetype has been, I guess, underrepresented, just because it is kind of weak, especially Vladimir. There just aren't a lot of cards that synergize well with him, and then even, like, the last kind of, batch of nerfs and buffs they did to the cards, they really nerfed the, Crimson Disciple, which really hurt the archetype. But it kind of had to be done because of all of the burn decks that were running around. And it was really hard to be able to block the Crimson Disciple. She just got a whole bunch of value. So anyway, the archetype in general was nerfed significantly because of that. She was basically their strongest card. But yeah, so this is just adding more in. Sleep with the Fishes, deal 2 to an ally, deal 2 to the enemy Nexus. And I mean, you do have to invest a little bit to. And what I mean by that is when you play Jack the Winner, you need to have the idea in mind that you're going to generate this card. So you need to have units on the field that you can use Sleep with the Fishes on. So this is why he's got such a big health stat as well, is that if you don't have any other units that you can play Sleep with the Fishes on, you can at least use it on Jack the Winner and get some value out of him, and he still has 4 health. So that's why his health stat's so big. That's why, so it makes the card a little bit better, especially if you can't use it on something else. But like if you pair this with Noxus and had Legion Grenadier in hand, or even Crimson Disciple, even though a lot of people aren't running her anymore, you can still get pretty good damage. And also do a lot to level up Swain and Vlad. So overall, I think this is good for the archetype. We'll see if it gets play though. Alright, next card here, another Bilgewater card. Summon Monkey Business. Summon a Powder Monkey. Plunder. Summon another Powder Monkey next round. Okay, so this is kind of reminding me of Sapling Toss a little bit, where it's a burst speed 1-cost spell where you play it the round before to get value on it the next round. This one is instantaneous value this round as well as the next round. So this is really an awesome Plunder enabler here. An early Plunder enabler that gets you on round 2. You're going to damage the enemy Nexus on round 2 and then the next round as well. The opponent can interact with this with deny, but that's pretty much the only thing they can do, and you basically just have to give up 1 turn in order to play this card, and potential mana usage, and and give up possibly playing another card. But the Plunder ability is kind of nice to have. This will also work with ephemeral decks, so that's pretty cool. I know Powder Monkeys have been tried in ephemeral decks before, but this is pretty. I actually really like this card. Offers a lot more play variability. Just adding a different card into the deck that could potentially work in a variety of decks. So for example, ephemeral, you can run it into Freljord Plunder decks, and you can run it in Bilgewater Plunder decks. That's pretty cool. And then it also synergizes well with Swain. You could put it into a Swain deck too, because the Powder Monkeys are dealing non-combat damage when they explode. Alright, let's go on to the next one here. An 8-cost Demacia card. For the Fallen, slow speed spell. When you summon an elite, you reduce my cost by 1. For each ally that died this round, summon a Dauntless Vanguard. So, as you probably have kind of seen recently, especially with the new expansion, they are releasing cards like Arbiter of the Peak. We got Plaza Guardian. We got Scuttlegeist, I think is what it's called. Ancient Yeti may kind of fall into this category, but you have these 8-cost cards for the most part that are reduced when you meet certain criteria. And this is the card that they're adding into Demacia that has kind of this sort of vibe to it, where you use a card, a certain type of card, and it reduces the cost by 1. So in this case, it's when you summon an elite, reduce my cost by 1. For each ally that died this round, summon a Dauntless Vanguard. How do I feel about this? So you're running this in elite decks, right? To get the most value out of it. For each ally that died this round, summon a Dauntless Vanguard. I don't know that I really like this card. Because you have to use it on rounds where you're limited to using it on rounds and getting a lot of value out of it where a lot of your units died. And so I guess as kind of a last resort option, you would include this into your deck. You're running this in a mid-range deck, so you've got a lot of units down, and then by the time you get a lot of units down, you're wanting to finish the game. So, I mean, it is possible that the enemy counters you somehow and is able to kill all of your units when you got, like, Cithri the Bold down and Garen and, you know, all of these units in your mid-range deck. It's possible, like, the enemy could counter you, kill all of your units, and then this card would get some value out of it, but other than that, I don't really see this card, you know, doing anything. The value of it just probably isn't enough. You're running it in an elite deck, so you need to have played a lot of elite units in order to get this down to a decent mana cost. I guess in certain decks this could be good. I could be wrong about this. I don't know. It may just not be my playstyle, the mid-range Demacia playstyle. I just am not really interested in, so that kind of makes me feel like this card isn't very good either. So, but this could get some use. I could be underestimating this card. It could be good, but I just don't think it is, and I don't know that people are going to run it. Could be completely wrong about that. Demacia mid-range was kind of the best deck for over 2 months, and it was very oppressive, and this could bring it back, but we'll see. I know a lot of people have played it, so they will definitely experiment with this card. I just don't know if it will be good. Alright, this is an Ionia card, Singular Will, a 10 mana card. Wow, costs 10. We pick an ally, and we recall all other units. Wow. Pick an ally, recall all other units. Slow speed spell. I think this card is too slow to get a lot of value out of. By the time, so like, why are you recalling units? This is almost like a counter to the Celestial and Aurelian Soul archetype that is almost definitely going to become a thing. So maybe this will be like used. See, because the only way I see this getting a lot of use is if the opponent has a ton of high cost units on the board. Otherwise, you don't really slow them down at all, because by the time you can play this card, they're going to be able to play a whole bunch of cheap units anyway, or like the units they had onto the field again. And you're only leaving one as well, so basically it's taking your units back as well, so you're not going to be able to play any more units this round, right? And yeah, and then basically, unless the opponent has a ton of high cost units, they're going to be able to just, fill up their board again. So this card may be a little bit too slow. I do see it as a potential counter for an Aurelian Soul meta, though, if that does happen. And I know, like, in the first month, everybody's going to be playing it, so this card could be a potential counter for that. And then kind of as a unlikely source, this could be an automatic level up for Yasuo. So this could be a board wipe card for Yasuo as well, I guess, but But overall, I don't really see this card being an auto-include in any deck. It's going to be a niche kind of meta tech card, dependent on like how expensive the units are that are being summoned into decks or onto boards and stuff. So I don't really see this card getting a lot of play besides certain metas. Kind of an interesting concept though. Alright, a 7-cost card from Noxus. This is the first Noxus card that we've seen in this expansion, the Basilisk Bloodseeker. Overwhelm, 7-cost card. Play, so we've got an ability, an interactable ability here. We deal 1 to an ally and an enemy 4 times. Alright, so we're dealing 1 to an ally and an enemy 4 times. Okay, so I think the way this is interacting, if I'm understanding this correctly, you're picking an ally and you're picking an enemy, and you're dealing 1 damage to it 4 times. So for example, if you pick a tough ally, this will deal 0 damage to it because it's proccing 1 damage each time. Alright, so that's how I'm understanding it. But if you just regularly deal it to an enemy that doesn't have tough, you are dealing 1 damage to it, so a total of 4 damage. Okay, so that's how I'm understanding it. So this is more like Swain synergy, more self-harm or the self-harm archetype. And the reason why this works really well with that is because each of these individual procs are going to count as a tick for Vladimir's level up. So this is kind of a Vladimir enabler as well, specifically for Vladimir, but also works really well with Vlad. The ability is meant, I believe, to level up Vlad. And just give him more viable kind of followers in order to level him up. Now this also potentially works, not potentially, will work with Braum. So if you have a super buff Braum card leveled up and you need to get units onto the board ASAP, you use this ability on Braum. You are dealing 1 damage to him for 4 times. You get 4 Poros out as well as a Basilisk Bloodseeker and a Braum. You have a full board on turn 7. Yeah, this could be a super strong card in certain metas. I really like the design of this card. The Overwhelm makes it nice. I think this will see play in these sort of self-harm archetypes. I could be wrong about this, but I really like this card and what its ability is. It's got a really unique ability that you don't really see other places or in other cards, right? I wonder if so you're targeting an enemy, right? Does it count as targeting the enemy 4 times? So will it be like 4 Ezreal procs as well? If it is, this could be a strong card in an Ezreal deck too. I'm not for sure if it does, but you're definitely targeting an ally. And I mean, when you have like Arachnoid Sentry, right, and you target, that counts as an Ezreal level up as well. So does this count as 4 individual targets? If it does, like this could be a super strong card for Ezreal. Just watch out for that. It just kind of depends on how the card interacts with the ability. Alright. Apprehens. So this is Darius's E in League of Legends. A slow speed 2-mana spell here. Stun an enemy if you have a Darius. Rally. So this is very similar to like Riptide. Riptide, right? Yes, Nautilus's champion spell. This obviously isn't Darius's champion spell, but you get more power out of it if a Darius is on the field. This is also more Yasuo synergy. So Yasuo basically is subject to certain types of builds, deck builds, and Darius really hasn't been included into that. So this could possibly do kind of a Darius and Yasuo matchup here. This could be very good with the two of them together. Just kind of depends on the certain factors and the people. I mean, people will definitely try it with this card. It's kind of a cool concept as well. So you're stunning an enemy at slow speed. So I mean, the enemy can interact a little bit with it. It is stunning the enemy, so they do have to interact with their own cards. And if you have a Darius, you rally. So they're forced to get rid of the Darius. This is also cool because we are introducing more rally effects into Noxus. It only has kind of 1 right now with Katarina. And then her Shunpo, I guess, as well. But that's hardly ever run in any deck because you need to, it's just not very good value for what the spell does. So this could be an interesting card to include. To get the rally, you do need a Darius, so you almost need to auto-include Darius if you're going to use this card to get the most use out. Actually, this card will not be used without Darius, I would say that right now. This card will get more use at turn 6 when you can actually play Darius, so it does kind of limit the power of this card. Alright, so Apprehend as a card is kind of interesting. We're stunning an enemy at round 2. This is like a weak Guile. Guile will, I think it's called Guile, right? So that's a 1 mana slow speed spell that stuns an enemy. So this is kind of a weaker version of that. The only upside is if you have Darius in the deck, then you rally, and they are balancing kind of the stun and the rally at 2 mana with the condition that you have Darius on the field. So you need to be at least at turn 6 in order to get the full value out of this card. But if you run this in Overwhelm decks, it may work. It could possibly be too slow of a card to actually see a lot of play, but I like what they're doing with this, and it could potentially fit into a Darius deck. Well, we'll have to wait and see. A Darius Yasuo deck could be kind of an interesting concept. TriBeam Improbulator. Deal 1 to a unit, summon a random 1-cost unit. While I'm in hand, increase both by 1 when you play a 3-cost card. Alright, so I think the condition is, if I'm understanding this correctly, you need to play a 3-cost card before playing this card to deal 2 damage and then summon a 2-cost unit. Could be wrong about that. The wording is a little bit confusing with this, but if I'm understanding this correctly, you will play a 3-cost card. And it doesn't stipulate which one it has to be. It can be a unit or it can be a spell. So it could be burst speed spell. Then you deal 1 to a unit and you summon a random 2-cost unit. This is an interesting card. I really don't know how this is going to work until I try it out. This is an epic card, so this I can see right now this has potential Ezreal, like an Ezreal Karma sort of. This is kind of like an Ezreal Karma spell that you could include into that kind of deck because you're dealing 1 to a unit, so you are dealing, targeting a unit with damage. You summon a random 1-cost unit, and then that's kind of nice because a lot of Ezreal Karma decks don't have a lot of units to block with, and so this gives you another unit. Yeah, so this could work in that kind of deck. This could work in a Professor Von Yip deck where you're dealing 1 to a unit and you're summoning a random 1-cost unit. I don't know that I will necessarily see play in that kind of deck, but it does synergize well with that. So this card is kind of interesting. The wording is a little confusing, so we'll see if I'm right about it. I don't really know what to think about it. This is kind of a meme card. This will probably see play in labs and stuff. I doubt it will see play in actual decks. Alright, so here we get a Targon card, Star Shepherd 03. When you heal a damaged ally, grant me +2/+0. So this is obviously going to be kind of a Soraka follower. We didn't get Soraka this set of the expansion. And this card reminds me of the Unscarred Reaver, or whatever her name is, the one that never gets play, where when she gets damaged, she gets +3. This one is when you heal a damaged ally, grant me +2/+0. So this is a permanent buff. It can be used over and over again. So you're not limited to 1 use, and she's got 3 health. So depending on how many heal cards, and we got quite a few in Targon, but depending on how many heal cards we get into the future, and we might get a couple more here, this card could be really good in a Soraka deck. As an early game card, it kind of reminds me of things like the Greenglade Protector, and also reminds me of like the Scar Reader Maiden, and now the Child Flower. This is just kind of the Targon version where we're granting extra stats to a unit when we fulfill certain conditions. So this will probably be a staple in a Soraka deck. Alright, Fledgling Stellacorn. This has Lifesteal and it has Spell Shield. That's pretty cool. Okay, so the abilities are pretty cool, but the stat line is awful for a 3-drop. I don't think this card will see play because of that. This is way too expensive. You don't get any value from increased stats. You get 1 health back when you hit into the enemy nexus. It doesn't have like elusive or anything. I don't see this card being played. 3 cost is way too expensive for this card. It may be buffed to 2. This won't see play, but depending on how it synergizes with Soraka, they may wait until she's released. Alright, 3 costs. Giddy Sparkleologist. So this is obviously a Zoe follower. Again, we didn't get Zoe, so here we go. Play if you behold a celestial card, some more behold synergy. So it looks like the behold synergy is going to be with Zoe. I thought it would be with Aurelion Sol. If you behold a celestial card, grant an ally +1/+1 and spell shield. Play, so that's on play, so we're granting extra stats and spell shield. So this could find its way into a deck. We're going to see the full synergy with Zoe with this card more than likely. So I don't know. Depending on the meta as well, this could be a meta-dependent card until we get Zoe, because Spell Shield could be really nice if we get an Ezreal meta again, where Ezreal is targeting units with his Mystic Shot. And a lot of people are saying that Spell Shield isn't going to go away at the end of the round, so this could potentially, this could potentially be a really good card if Spell Shield doesn't go away. But yeah, I think this is going to be a meta-dependent deck until Zoe's released and we see what she actually does. 3 costs for a 2/2 is kind of expensive, and then you also have the condition that you need to behold a Celestial card. So you have to have a Celestial card in hand, so you're building this kind of around Celestial units, so we'll see how it goes. I don't really see it getting a lot of play. Alright, innate drop from Targon, Grandfather Rummel. Alright, so this is looking like more Soraka units with these horns here. So it's Overwhelm and Spell Shield. We play it and grant an ally +0/+4. The reason why this is kind of a Soraka card is because we're granting units more health. This card is kind of slow. For an 8-drop, it's got a lot of power, so it could be a potential game finisher, but we're only granting units for health, so that's kind of awkward because we're not granting them more attack. So if you're running this like an Overwhelm deck, it'd be better to give attack to somebody rather than health at that point. If you're running kind of a Soraka deck where we're imagining she's going to have some sort of healing level up condition, this is kind of slow as well because this card is coming down so late. I don't know. It just kind of depends on how Soraka's ability works. So I don't know if this card's going to see a lot of play this part of the expansion until Soraka's done. It seems really, really slow to be granting a unit 4 health at that point in the game. I could be wrong about it, but that's my general thoughts. Overwhelm's nice though. Alright, and maybe the final card here, we finally get our Poro, the card everybody's been waiting for, the Porofly with Spell Shield, Targon's signature kind of ability here. Keyword, Spell Shield, a 1/1 unit. We finally get our Poro synergy. Not much to say here. This is the MVP, of course, of this whole set. And look how happy he is. And we get someone kind of chasing behind here. We can't really see who it is. So this is an automatic auto-include in every deck. So just be aware of that. This card is going to be great. Alright, so that's about it. So super excited about this expansion. We finally got the last of the cards here. This was a super long video. We got more cards than even I was expecting us to get. Got some pretty cool synergies, new synergies with these cards between the different regions. So pretty excited to try them out. Yeah, and just to start crafting decks and playing against other people with this new Targon region. Go ahead and tell me your favorite card from this expansion in a comment. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.